Okay, before we even start today's episode, I just want to say you're selfish. Always have been. Exhibit A, that time that you ate the last slice of pizza and claimed you didn't know that I wanted it.
You are coming in hot today, aren't ya? All right, but let's go ahead and talk about Exhibit B. When you borrowed my sweater, stretched it out, spilled coffee on it, and then forgot to tell me.
Okay. Maybe we're both guilty. Which brings us to today's episode, where we explore selfishness. When is it bad? When is it necessary? And who in this family is the worst offender?
Hello and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and you all know my sister in that cool-ass shirt today, Casey.
In today's episode, we will discuss selfishness. We'll be discussing the ins and outs of why we're all about it and how it can be viewed as negative. Let's get started.
I realized you paused because I didn't say we're your hosts. I was distracted by your shirt. I was jealous of it, I guess. I don't know. I was like, oh, I love that shirt. I couldn't stop thinking about it. We're your hosts. All right, let's get started. And as is our new routine or new tradition that we've been rolling on that we are really enjoying, and the feedback from listeners is they are too, it is quiz time.
Woo, quiz time.
Woo-hoo. All right, now it's my week to ask questions, and you get to answer. But don't worry, I got your winning button ready.
Have it ready.
For everything you get right.
I'm winning.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I was so close to getting a 5 out of 5, but I still have not met you on that level yet. So let's see if you can keep your 5 to 5 streak going for yourself. 5 out of 5.
Well, I mean, try to get on my level, you know?
And keep keeping my ass going. Yeah. I've been striving my whole life, you know? Okay. So first question. And it's like I almost want to hint at the answer, but I kind of don't want to. But I did find it funny because this term has come up for us in a past episode. So there's a little hint.
All right.
But what is the psychological term for extreme selfishness or self-centeredness?
Narcissistic?
Nice. Yes, that is correct. And there was a fun fact with this, that narcissism is named after Narcissus from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And he's the one that fell in love with his own reflection.
I did know that.
Just a quick bonus point. Okay.
You could have gave me a bonus point on that one, and you didn't even try.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry. You didn't need it yet. You're still beating me. It's fine. Forgot about bonus points. Okay. Let me rephrase that. What animal has been observed showing selfish behavior in the wild?
Let's say dolphin.
No. I almost was going to give you a hint too, because they mimic humans so much.
Monkeys?
No?
Oh, I don't know.
Chimpanzee. A chimpanzee. I should have given you a quick hint on that one. Out of all the animals in the wild, that was a lot of options out there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
That's okay. You know, one and one. And don't worry, this next one, if you mess it up, I'm gonna be so disappointed in you. So who is the Disney villain known for singing poor unfortunate souls and manipulating others for her gain? And I can sing the song if that helps.
I'm just pausing to give our audience a time to reflect on that.
Fair.
Uh,
Fair.
Ursula.
Yes. Good job. Good job.
So...
Now, this next one, I'm going to give you multiple choice.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, I'm going to do multiple choice because it has to do with newer terminology that we might not both always know. So I feel like it's a little bit easier to give it to you, even though you do have kids that keep you up on the latest slang.
Gotcha.
All right. So, what social media term refers to self-centered posts seeking approval or admiration? Is it A, flexing, B, thirst trap, or C, clout farming?
Flexing? A? Flexing?
Well, is thirst trap?
Okay.
I did not know. Okay.
I feel like I thought thirst trap was like, you know, I mean, I don't want to say that I watch a lot of these videos, but you know, if there's like a guy in some tight jeans and I see something, I feel like that's me having a thirst, like he's a thirst trap for me.
Yeah, and yes, and the thirst trap is a post that's meant to attract attention, but it's often tied to vanity or validation. So it's apparently a modern form of self-serving behavior.
Well, look, if you gotta flaunt it, baby. Keep those thirst trap
Yeah,
videos
that
coming.
does make me. Yeah, it makes me now be like, well, what's the flexing then? Like, I thought flexing was like showing off that you're better than some, but
That's like that too. Okay.
and clout farming. I don't even know if that's actually a thing.
It makes me think
Don't even get me started on slang terms.
clout farming.
Okay.
Like my immediate thought was like prop dusting. You know, like
Collecting all the crop dust you can for the day. Okay, you're 2 for 2.
right.
But I think you might get this
All right.
next one. Okay. If someone is being called selfish, it's fair to say they might be lacking what essential trait?
Empathy.
Yeah. Good job. 3 for 2. That's still good.
I still won.
And I think that ties us back up. Yeah, you did. For sure. But that but because you missed that one, it kind of puts me back on the level of you after your 5 for
Okay.
5. So just saying.
Okay.
Okay. You did good. You did good. Quiz time. So, selfishness. I thought, the minute that you proposed this idea for an episode, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm down for that one because I think it's such an interesting concept that, to me, gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
So, I'll just start there and, throw that out there. So,
it does, and it's one of those things where I still have a hard time not thinking of it in a negative way. Being a little selfish sometimes. And I don't know if it's just from a parent's point of view. The fact is the kids have always come first, right? Period.
Okay, yeah.
And
I hear parents say that.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of lame, but it's also, I will go into like this whole totally interesting topic. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. So, as a parent, I've always, the kids have always come first. And then, being in a marriage, I've always put the other person's needs ahead of my own. And
okay.
so selfishness still feels like such a foreign concept to me, and it's hard for me to do. But I really like when I do it. I really like when I do it.
Well, in doing a little looking into this episode, I saw that there's a term now that's called ethical selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically that whole, you can't pour from an empty cup. So I'd say maybe for the wives or parents out there, or husbands.
Yeah.
That there's a reason that you have to take care of yourself first, even in a relationship or even when you're a parent. So, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So, if that helps at all with that, with your new discovery of being selfish.
Well, and I think a lot of it is, for me, I know, as a parent, obviously you can't pour from an empty cup. It's not like I didn't take care of myself. Don't misunderstand me on that one. I did. I took care of myself and all those things, but when it came down to it, it was always, what's the best decision here for the kids, or whatever. And then also in being in a relationship, like in a marriage, yes, I was putting my significant other's needs ahead of my own, but in turn, I was expecting them to also be putting my needs ahead of their own.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Right. So,
would you do that again in a relationship?
I don't think so, because it was so easy for me to fall into just thinking so much of others and not enough of myself.
Oh.
And then whenever...
Absolutely. I mean...
So I was just saying, and then like whenever, say, the significant other, like if and I'm gonna take such a minuscule thing, but say I really wanted Mexican for supper, but I knew that it wasn't good for their health or whatever. So I'd be like, oh no, let's do the chicken and rice. And he would be like, no, let's make the enchiladas. I'm like, no, let's do chicken and rice. And so even when he's sitting here being like, no, come on, let's do Mexican. No, I'm trying to put you ahead of myself. Stop it.
That brings an interesting perspective to things, though, because I would say in a lot of my relationships, I still want to put that other person first, just even in a friendship. That's a great example, the food thing, I think. If you're like, oh, I'm craving this, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of craving this, 95% of the time, I'll just give in to whatever your thing is, because I don't care enough. I mean, like, if I did super care, I'd be like, no, trust me, I want this. But a lot of times it's like, oh, I don't care enough to like So I'm like, oh no, you can totally get what you want to have. But, and I think that is a kind of normal thing to do, is just, I think that makes for good reciprocal relationships, if you will. So I would say though that I think society in a general sense, has just viewed selfishness as such a negative thing that we are taught from a young age not to be selfish.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, something as small as a kid, they're like, I don't want to share this toy. No, we need to share. We have to share with everyone. We don't want to be selfish. So I think there's a real fine balance in there, because you do want to teach a kid to share. There's a fine balance in there of selfishness versus making yourself happy, and selfishness from a bad standpoint.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be like a real random tip here, right, for parents on that selfishness. One thing you can do for kids is always be like, you have these special toys, and we'll put those away so that you don't have to share those with your friend when they come over. But then anything we leave out is up for sharing. But you know that they're not touching your special toys.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Look at you with the tips on stuff like
weird,
that.
Right?
How do you understand kids so well?
What I was going to say on that, because remember I said, I'm going to come back and tell you this really random fact, right? So I was doing some research about parenting and whatever. And it was just one of those things I was thinking about, how like society's changed and this and that. And so things started changing a lot more with the Industrial Revolution, because so way back in the day, parents had a lot of kids, and they had all those kids because they treated them like, what's the word?
Workers?
Like collaborators, basically.
Slaves?
Like collaborators, right? So like we have a family farm, and listen,
Collaborators. That's a nice
all
word
have to
for it.
contribute, right? We all have to contribute to the family
Right.
business.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Period.
Yeah. How are you a part of the family if you don't give your share of time or
and
effort?
then after the Industrial Revolution and on into things, we started treating kids like consumers. And so it became more about the kids, more like, oh, they shouldn't have to work, right? Because child labor laws or some shit like that. And instead we should put them in all these sports that we think they're interested in, and this and that, and they become consumers of our time, our energy, and our money. And so that's why you see people having less and less kids, because we treat them like consumers instead of like family collaborators.
Oh. Which makes sense, because who the heck can have 10 kids in sports and after school activities, like choir, dance, whatever, in a sport, and you got 10 kids, like you can't run them everywhere. Oh, yeah, well.
So
interesting.
So parenting.
And then a kid learns to be selfish because the parent has less kids, so they're more of a priority. So they've been made a priority. So they think they're important. Oh man, how times have changed.
Indeed, like parenting used to be a more selfish endeavor, because you're like, shit, dude, I need somebody to help bring in the harvest. So better start pumping out some kids.
I guess I am in the mood tonight after all.
Damn it, I'm gonna need another worker here in a couple years. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh man. It was in looking into this though, I found something else I found kind of interesting, and there was a spectrum for selfishness. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
It was, and I probably should have dug a little deeper on where it came from. It just kind of popped up on my, on the old Goog. But there was healthy selfishness, And that was basically like when you're prioritizing your own needs and setting boundaries. And that was essential for maintaining your well-being and preventing burnout. I'm like, that sounds like healthy selfishness on that spectrum is like, oh yeah, that sounds like exactly what I think selfishness is. But there can be harmful selfishness. And that involves prioritizing your needs at the expense of others' well-being. And that could, lead to conflict or damaging relationships. And then there was just straight up self-centeredness. And then that referred to the focus on oneself and a lack of empathy or concern for others, which you got that one right in the quizzes. If you selfish, they tend to think you lack empathy. So I thought that spectrum was interesting because for quite a few years now, I have viewed selfishness as a positive thing. Honestly, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm about it. I'm all for it. So I was like, oh, I guess I switched my viewpoint of the word to straight up the healthy selfishness version.
Mm.
And so sometimes I do have to remind myself there are a couple of different versions of selfishness, which is why I found that spectrum so interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because, and like we were talking about, there is that, because you need to be able to pour from a full cup. And so being a little selfish here and there isn't a bad thing, right?
I don't think so. I know I've spoke before about I listened to the channeler Abraham Hicks, and there's there are a lot of 15-minute clips on YouTube. I don't know why I had to do that for 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes to me, people. I'm like 15
that's about
minutes.
6 inches right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily 6. It's about a 15-minute clip. And there's a lot of them out there. And there's one I do listen to. Like I listen to some of them repeatedly. And one of them, they have a guest up on the stage or something, and they're kind of being like, well, it sounds like you're saying that selfishness, something along the lines of like, it sounds like you're telling me to be selfish. And Esther, who is channeling Abraham, is like, absolutely. Like, that's absolutely what we promote. Like, we're not going to shy away from it. People say it like it's a bad thing, but we promote it. But their idea of the promoting it and the teaching it is that being selfish, focusing on yourself is like natural, and it's an important part of the law of attraction and manifesting your own desires.
Okay.
So that's kind of why. So like for them, like they don't view it negatively. It just encourages prioritizing that your own happiness and your own well-being and desires. And in listening to multiple, that one a lot, but there's many of them out there that have Abraham talking about this, is probably what started changing my view on that. And realizing that when I take myself as my biggest priority, and my biggest priority is to make myself happy, which some people would call that selfish. Not to me, it's not, because if I'm invited to a party and I kind of don't want to go, but I'm like, whatever, I'm going to appease this person. So I go to the party and I'm like, I'm not bringing the best version of myself to that party because I didn't really want to go, but I didn't want to be selfish and say no.
Yeah.
And in starting to like rethink how that looked over the past few years, I've started being like, oh, you know what? Like when I say yes to do something with you, I'm just using a party for an example. This could be anything from having a cup of coffee to having dinner to whatever, even helping with someone when they're sick and they need me to bring them food or something. When I do that from a level of, oh man, this would make me happy to do it. Like I would enjoy doing that thing. Then when I'm present in that moment, I'm fully present because I totally want to be there. And I'm actually being selfish and going because it's something I want to do. But in my selfishness of going to do that thing, going to that party, I'm bringing the best version of myself to it too.
Right.
Because I genuinely want to be there and want to have fun. And like I said, if I'm bringing you food when you're sick and I am offering it, it's because I genuinely want to do that. And so it's making me feel good, even though it seems like I'm doing something so selfless. I'm like, oh, no, I'm doing this to make myself feel better. I don't give a shit if you feel better or not. Enjoy the soup. Okay.
I needed some leftovers.
Right. Right.
I think though, on some of that, like what you're talking about, I consider that more, and so that stuff I wouldn't even call selfish. I would call that more just being self-aware. And I know we kind of,
That's a good
kind of talked
term.
about this where, like, okay, so like say in a relationship, and especially, well, let's just throw like marriage out there or something. You get into these relationships and you have those talks where you're like, oh, I want to have 5 kids. And he's like, I want to have 2. Well, are you going to be happy with the 2 that he wants to have? Or is he going to have to, and you think, oh, he'll change his mind. Or he thinks, oh, she'll change her mind. No, man. No.
Yeah.
There's that self-awareness, and it's okay to stick to that and have your boundary. And you know what? If you and that person are not on the same wave level of what do we want to do? Where are we seeing this going in 5 years?
Yeah.
Then, hey, man, maybe that's not the one for you. Let him go. Let him go find that dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's a great point because that's not being selfish of being like, oh, they're so selfish they won't give me 5 kids. That's just being self-aware they only want 2.
Yeah.
Or the vice versa standpoint, right? But yeah, it's being self-aware of, no, I know what I do and don't want. So I think self-aware and selfish is a really good thing of putting them together like that, because I think they do tie together, because the more you know what you do want, the more you know what you don't want, right? Or what won't work for you. And then when you set that boundary of, no, I don't want that. What's selfish? No, I'm self-aware of, no, I know exactly where I'm at and what I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Which,
So I think that's a great way to look at that
yeah.
too.
And that's,
Funny how all those words can kind of tie into each other, right? To make things
yeah.
go.
But that is something, I mean, with my kids, Sunny Boy and the Flower Child, they're young kids, right? Like, I mean, I call them young kids, like they're young adults, 21 and 20.
Yeah.
And I have thoroughly encouraged both of them to be aware of what you want. Know what you want before you start getting yourself involved in any kind of relationship. Because you need to know where you stand on something, and if that person doesn't feel the same, then it's not for you. And take this time to be aware of yourself. Be selfish. Be selfish. Be self-aware, because you're not always going to be able
Yeah.
to, right?
Absolutely.
And so, I've encouraged that in them. I've encouraged my kids to be selfish.
I guess because, and like you said, if you get to that point, or they got to that point of having kids, like they do have to make them a priority. So take the time now to be selfish, I'd say.
Exactly. Before getting into a relationship with somebody, I mean, because once you get married or you're in that, you do have to, I mean, like it or not, you have to take that other person's feelings into consideration.
You should.
I mean, maybe.
It'd be the polite thing to do, but I don't know. I'm spitballing ideas there.
But, and,
I think it helps the relationship.
a little bit.
Sure. I don't know.
So I would strongly encourage anybody in those young years, man, take that time. Make sure you're self-aware of what you want to do and what your boundaries are with the big things in life, right? Like, what are you standing on? because you want to
Yeah.
know that before you get into a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. And I think though too, in knowing that self-awareness and understanding selfishness in the what I would consider the proper way, in knowing that, you can then move forward into a relationship as well, knowing that, like in my opinion, right, that person is not responsible for my happiness. I am. And so then I'm not holding them responsible for my happiness.
Yes.
So if they make choices that, maybe don't go with, they make their own selfish choice on something, I can understand that and step back and look at it from my perspective of, oh, well, if they were making that choice out of their own selfishness, but not to actually harm me or hurt me, then, I can kind of understand that because I'm in charge of my happiness and I'm going to be selfish about it. And truth is, I freaking want the enchiladas for dinner. I don't give a shit. Your heart attack be damned. Either eat it or don't. Here's some chicken and rice if you want it, but I'm eating the damn enchilada.
Give me the enchilada.
Or blood pressure, whatever the problem was. But
And that's the day I knew it was never going to work out.
yeah. No, I do. It's funny because I've had this conversation with some friends actually. The one friend in particular, we've talked about it multiple times that we were both like, oh, we're totally about being selfish. And it turned out we both had the same viewpoints of it's a good thing. It's not a negative
Right.
thing. And it's funny because in from the when I started changing my viewpoint on that to what was the term the healthy selfishness, when I started changing my viewpoint into that, which again, I didn't know I was doing the healthy thing. I didn't know there was a spectrum at the time. I thought it was interesting to see how many people in just my like day to day life would say, oh, you're being selfish. And they were using that word in a way to manipulate me into doing what they wanted me to do.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you're using that word. Oh, you think I find selfishness to be negative? I don't. So I'm watching you try to manipulate me by being like, Charlie, you're being really selfish by making that choice. And I'm like, I sure am. And I just smile and keep going with the choice because I was putting myself first, which kept you from actually manipulating me in the way you thought you could because I don't view selfishness the same way you do. And the guilt trip isn't going to work, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Just I think becoming okay with being called selfish also, because like you said, it is viewed negatively. And like I said, I still have a hard time sometimes like coming out of the negative on it. Um so so
Context.
yeah. So being able to get yourself
Yeah.
okay with viewing it in a positive manner.
Well, for me, I can't pretend I did that all on my own. That came through a lot of Abraham videos for me to view it that way. That's just what worked for me. The friend I was talking about who doesn't view selfishness as negative either, he just kind of did that on his own, like, I don't know, his own mindset, whatever was working for him. So I think everyone has to do it on, if you're able to work through it on your own way and find out like what it means to you to be selfish, right? And then start viewing it. And I would definitely say in finding that spectrum even is maybe a good way for someone to start. So I mean, listeners, what do you think? Where's your mind at on that? Do you consider selfishness a negative term these days, or do you think it's a positive thing? Just, curious where those viewpoints stand.
Good questions. Oh.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments. Sorry. Little blooper.
No, you know
Sorry
what?
about that. All right.
I'm gonna be so honest. I'm being a little quiet, but it's only because I was like, I don't even know if I should bring it up, but I mean, might as well, right? Like, but I was thinking, like, in the bedroom,
Raw and
like,
real.
in the bedroom, being selfish.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, totally bring that up. Yes, be so.
listen, you gotta know what you like, and if your partner is like a jackrabbit and you're like, no, I want more of a sloth. Rant. You have to voice these things, right? Like, that's if you want to get spanked and have your
Yeah,
hair pulled, you gotta say these things. They don't know.
right. And that's and honestly, like I would say in that respect, when we were talking about even in a relationship, you want it to be reciprocated. I would want the same. Like, I am going to be selfish in the bedroom because I'm going to make sure you know what I'm looking for. However, in turn, when you tell me what you like, there got to be times where you're getting all that attention you need as well.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And you got to find the in between there, right?
Right. Right.
I would say, because there's, man, nothing worse than, well, there's probably a million things worse, to be honest, but seems to me there would be nothing worse than being in a relationship with a boring bedroom life, a boring sex life, because you don't know how to be selfish and speak up for what you need.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And sometimes selfishness is literally just speaking your truth and saying what you need.
Yeah. Be self-aware. Know what you like.
Yes.
But you know what? Be willing to
Oh,
explore
yes.
the other person's likes as well.
But
You might find something new you
because
like.
I can tell you when you take on I was just going to say the same thing, because if you're open to exploring what they like as well, you could find some real new fun stuff going on there. Just saying. So be open to hearing that selfishness from the other person as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So.
Mm. So yeah, I think that's a good one you brought up, though. I think that was probably needed to be said too. Is selfishness is being self-aware at times and speaking your mind, and it's a good thing, people. Good thing
It is.
in life, in the bedroom.
Everywhere.
So yeah, everywhere. I would say that our lesson learned and growth earned on this: be selfish. We believe you should always put yourself first. Let's make being selfish good again. We don't mean in the out for yourself, screw anyone else, way, but that you are the only one in charge of your happiness. So you've got to put yourself first as your first priority, because if you don't, who else will? And in doing so, you're going to find a lot more happiness, and you're going to be able to share that with others.
In our next episode, we are going to explore AI. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self. Selfish people.
Be your favorite self. Selfish. And as always, if you guys are enjoying what you hear, please, listeners, leave us a review. It totally helps other people find us. And make sure you're liking and subscribing on your favorite listening platform to catch all our future episodes.